Attention all musicians, bands, associations, clubs, and organizations that represent collective styles of music across Canada. Now is the time to rebuild our collective music nation genres like hip-hop, R&B, jazz, soul, reggae, gospel, and more united. The Collective Music Nation is a non-profit organization committed to the development of collective music. Free memberships are available now. The Collective Music Nation. One voice, strength in unity.
Need a personal shopper? Christmas, Boxing Day, and New Year's is just around the corner. Show up in style. I'll do the runaround for you so you don't have to. Contact me, Delicia Henry, your personal shopper and stylist, at bechic.notbougie@gmail.com.
You're listening to iLive Radio, changing the way you listen to radio. iLive Radio.
The number one hit music station.
Hello, and happy Sunday to everybody out there who's listening. I am Lady T.
Alongside Tanya Nicole, T. Nicole.
And welcome to this episode of Womanhood. So, first things first, prayers out to all those impacted in the Ukraine with what Russia is currently doing to the Ukrainian people. Very upsetting and extremely unfortunate that we live in a time where these are the things that we still have to see, especially in light of the history that we have when it comes to wars, etc. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I feel the same way. It's really disheartening. I never thought that I would witness something this catastrophic, this unnecessary in my lifetime. My 15-year-old too, he's fascinated by it as well because he never thought that he would live to see something play itself out. So definitely I've been praying for like a Samson and Goliath type of victory with little casualties as possible. It's just not right and it's sad. Of course, they're affected over there. And even us in the West, you know, we're being affected in a different type of way. So I'm glad that we are coming together, fighting against evil, fighting against what's wrong. And hopefully, you know, we come out on top at the end of it with as little casualties as possible.
Absolutely. I try not to watch too much of the news just in general. But of course, you know, you're on social media, these images pop up and I just can't imagine what it must feel like to actually be living through that, you know, seeing the bombs ravage apartments and homes and towns and
families torn apart, women have to be separated from their husbands, you know, not sure where they're going to go, where their food, water, basic needs, where they're going to come from.
Yeah, it's, we'll just continue to send our prayers out to them and hope that there's a resolution soon.
Quickly.
And very, very soon when it comes to that situation. Okay, so today's topic is Struggle Love Part 2. We started talking about Struggle Love last week, and because there is just so much to cover, unfortunately, we were unable to get through all the material, but we kind of knew that ahead of time. We figured it was going to be at least a two-part series. So today is when we complete the topic, or hopefully, because there's still so much to talk about, but we kind of wrap up that topic. We're just going to do, I guess, a brief overview, but not yet. And then after that brief overview, we'll talk about the impacts of being in a struggle of type situation. And then we'll talk about what you can do, whether you stay or leave, if you're experienced in something like this, or even if you know somebody who is.
Absolutely.
But
segueing off, before we get into the wonderful information pertaining to struggle love. I definitely want to give a shout out to Lala Anthony. I feel like she's done an amazing job in a difficult situation. Many of you may or may not know she had a very public divorce. She filed for divorce from her husband, and a lot of it was primarily due to infidelity, as far as what we understand. So what I like about that is that she had boundaries that she set forward. And she said, you know what, this is the boundary that was crossed. I don't know how many times. Of course, I don't know what happens behind closed doors, but she did take the initiative to say, this is not what I want for my life. However, I applaud her and her husband for doing such a phenomenal job of coming together despite the divorce and working together to raise their son. There's no drama. They're working together for the betterment of their son. And it's unfortunate that sometimes divorce creates even more trauma for the child that's involved, who are the innocent ones in the situation. So shout out to her and good luck with what you're doing, and continue doing what you're doing.
Yeah, I agree. I've been following Lala from, she had a reality TV show when she was kind of getting ready to get married, and it showed her marriage to Carmelo Anthony, etc. And I've kind of been following her before that with her DJ career, etc. I like her personality. She's a beautiful woman.
Yes, she is.
And, just enjoyed following her. She's really funny too. And, it was really sad over time to see, what had become of their marriage. I believe, based on what I know and, what's kind of been said out there in the pop culture world, they had their issues even before getting married, but, continued to have faith and move into that union. And, there were things that played out during the course of the marriage, rumors mainly, but, unfortunately over the years, it kind of led to where we are now, where he has a child, or he had a child, an outside child within their union. So yes, I agree. It's never easy to leave a situation, especially when you love the person, but, I'm glad that she chose herself, and that, her and Carmelo are able to continue to have a positive co-parenting relationship for the benefit of their son, who's a handsome young man.
He really is.
He's so handsome. So yeah, all the best to Lala. She's looking great. Yes. Every time I see her, online, she's out, she's with her friends, she's working out, she's taking care of herself. So really important to continue to focus on yourself when you're going through trying times like that. So yeah, shout out to her for sure. Okay, so recap of last week. Do you want to do the recap?
Sure. We'll just go over a little bit. Okay. For those of you that do not have an idea what struggle love, I'm going to try to make it plain and simple. If you hear the term ride or die, it's often entangled with this struggle love situation, which means you stick with your partner no matter what, through physical abuse, through infidelity, through financial hardship, through violence, verbal, anything. And you're going to stick with him no matter what, no matter how much pain he puts you through, you just don't go anywhere. And a lot of it is through socialization, because we as women, we know we have this gender role thing. So we tend to fall into that place. But now we're learning that it's really not healthy for us overall to stay in a situation that's unhealthy. Now, just want to make sure this is clear. We're not talking about typical turbulence that happens in everybody's relationship.
Absolutely.
So I don't want it to be misunderstood, but we're talking about extreme trauma that happens in these types of relationships, and why it's unhealthy, and potentially how to get out of it, because it's so self-destructive at the end of it all. So there's a cycle that we kind of went over in a nutshell. I'm going to go through a few of the things so that you understand clearly where we are, and then we'll pick up from where we left off last week. Is that cool?
Absolutely.
All right. So in the struggle love cycle, we have a codependent with I'll just call him the struggle love partner. I don't like to put labels out there without everyone having a full understanding. However, the struggle love partner typically has narcissistic personality characteristics. They're typically very manipulative, but not all the time. So I just don't want it to get convoluted that it's a narcissist, you're dealing with a narcissist, but they tend to have narcissistic types of characteristics. Yeah. So what happens in this dynamic, is that the woman is giving so much, or that codependent individual is giving so much, overgiving, love, attention, care to the individual, sometimes finances, just pouring on the love, the attention, everything that this individual has to have. The sad part about it is that it's not reciprocated. You know, you're pouring in, you're giving all your love and attention to this struggle love partner, and you're not getting any of it back in return. During this phase of the cycle, what happens is we often start to blame ourselves. We start to begin to feel that we're not worthy of love. So this is where a lot of the self-esteem starts to get broken down in this portion of the relationship. What happens next is a lot of anger, a lot of rage. You feel dismissed, you feel unheard, your needs aren't being met. And I would assume that this is probably the phase in the relationship where there's a lot of violence, you know, verbal abuse, physical abuse, and a lot of that dramatic behavior comes out in this phase of the cycle. Mm-hmm. The unfortunate part about it is the individual, the codependent, decides to stay, even though they're completely dissatisfied in this relationship. And for whatever reason, it could be loneliness. It could be, you know, hey, I don't want to go out there and find someone else and start all over. So I might as well stick with the animal that I used to. So for whatever reason, they decide to stick. And the cycle just continues to repeat itself.
Yeah. I know that there's a portion of that, why they decide to stay is the love bombing piece, which we'll touch on a little bit later, but that tends to be kind of what brings them back and brings them down and keeps them in that cycle.
And that's so important. So when we touch on that, ladies and gentlemen, pay very close attention, because a lot of times we feel stuck or it's my fault, but there's actually something called the trauma bond that Lady T will talk about a little later on that will make you understand it in its entirety and begin to, you know, figure out what you want to do from there out once you understand it. So what I do want to do, Lady T, is kind of go over what codependency means for those individuals that don't understand, because it's so important for you to understand this concept. Mm-hmm. In simpler terms, codependency is the need to be needed. Okay. I just want to be needed. So I put myself in a situation where I feel like I'm going to be needed. Think about being the rescuer, right? My partner needs to be rescued. So I need to be in this position because I need to be needed. He needs me. Yep. Dr. Timon Cermak really gives a good definition of this. And he calls an individual who's a codependent a person who gets their self-esteem through enduring unhealthy relationships. Now, there's two key words in there: enduring and self-esteem. Now, Lady T, when you endure something, tell me something about, you know, a time when you endured something and what that experience was like.
Oh my goodness.
And it doesn't have to be a relationship. It could be anything.
Yeah, it could be anything. But I can put it in terms of a relationship. Okay. Oh, well, endure schoolwork when I was going
there
back
you go.
to my, when I was going through my master's degree. Oh my goodness. Yes, I endured a lot of sleepless nights and a lot of headaches and I really pushed myself to get through that process for sure.
Okay. So it's that same concept, you know, when I work out, I'm in competition with my son about who could run a mile faster, right? And every time I endure and I go a little further, what happens is my self-esteem gets boosted, right? Mm-hmm. Because I endured that. Your self-esteem got boosted after you endured studying for your master's. It was hard. It was laboring. You were sleep deprived. But at the end of it, you can say, yes, I did it. Yes. Your self-esteem got boosted, right? Mm-hmm. So in the most dysfunctional type of ways, codependents get their self-esteem by enduring this type of relationship. When you think about it, you know, it's really sad. It's like, okay, that other woman, she couldn't stick by him. I'm sticking by him, right? Therefore, he's going to eventually give me what I need.
Yeah.
I stand by him. Right. But during this time, you're enduring all of this stuff. You're accomplishing this goal of being that ride or die and sticking through it. You're being unhealthy. You're not being healthy for yourself. You're enduring all this in this unhealthy relationship, and you're denying your own healthy needs.
Yeah. Actually, I just have a comment here that I saw from a Valerie, and Valerie stated, sometimes it's shame not wanting to look like a failure to family and friends. And that's an extremely good point. I can definitely relate to that. I've been there myself. You're in a relationship and it's probably not the best thing for you. But, you've already introduced this person to your friends, your family. They seem to like the person, and maybe you've had a few failed relationships before that everybody is aware of. And you're just trying to stick it out. You're hoping that maybe this is just a phase, so to speak, because you don't want to look like, you can't keep a man, which is one of those common things you hear out there, like something must be wrong with you why you can't keep a man. You keep going through all these guys. Right.
And shame is a really big thing. Shame keeps us in a lot of situations that we shouldn't get involved with, right? And it's sad because we look so much for outside approval. Going back to that conversation from our very first show, we look so much for outside approval that we deny ourselves the things that we need just because we don't want to look a certain way, but over time, that awareness piece is key. You can work through it either with a coach or a therapist and get to that space where you could actually stand on your own 2 feet and say, no, these are my boundaries. And I don't care who thinks what, but if you cross these boundaries, that's just it for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I love how it sounds in reality.
Exactly.
It's a great thing to say, but we all know, though, when our heartstrings are tugged and when we're invested, that it's not as easy as it sounds, but it is possible and it is doable. And, for myself, and I don't know about you, but I know for myself, it's a wonderful feeling when you're on the other side of it. Yeah. Yeah. Very painful.
But the thing about it is, it's like going back, and I'll share this throughout this conversation today. It's not an easy situation to get out of. Yeah. Because we have this bonding that's happening that you're even unaware of. Like, why am I still, attracted to this dysfunctional situation? What is wrong with me? There you go with the self-blame. What is wrong with me? It comes back onto yourself. But going back onto this enduring topic, it leaves you feeling so many different emotions. I know, Lady T, you're in the medical field, so you can talk a lot about the effects that this type of relationship transitions into stress and a whole heap of other, unsatisfactory issues that we come across and have to face.
Yeah, there's definitely a negative impact when you're in a situation like this. Do you want to talk about trauma bond first, and then we can...
Yeah, we can go ahead and talk a little bit about trauma bond, because once again, it's in that trauma bond arena that light bulb might come off and say, wow, I've allowed myself to bond to this type of traumatic behavior and start to do the discovery as to why and how to get unbonded. Go ahead. You can start off.
Okay. So we hear about trauma bond, but what exactly is a trauma bond? So trauma bond is the attachment an abused person feels for their abuser, specifically in a relationship with a cyclical pattern of abuse. And the bond is created due to a cycle of abuse and positive reinforcement. So after each circumstance of abuse, the abuser professes love, regret, and otherwise tries to make the relationship feel safe again, and needed for the abused person.
Right. You know what? There's a psychologist that explained this like so well in layman terms using a casino. Okay. You are at a casino and you are gambling and you're using one of those slot machines. Okay. Now, you're waiting for that love bombing, right? Moment to come, but you keep on putting in your resources inside and you might win $5, right? That $5 gives you more hope that, you know what, this individual might change. You keep on putting it in a slot and you're losing more than you're getting out, but you're still tethered to the hope. It's like an addiction. It's literally an addiction in the brain, this type of trauma bond. So you're constantly putting more chips in there, waiting for that moment, cha-ching. Oh, I got a little bit of change, right? So you keep on playing and you're addicted for that moment when that
reward.
Right.
Yeah. When you get
that
the
reward to come into play.
Yeah.
And that keeps you stuck. You know, that keeps you stuck because you're literally in an addictive, your brain is operating on an addictive type of chemical at this point.
Yes. Very fascinating. So just for those of you who are out there listening to this, love bombing, just so I can give kind of the overall definition of what that is. Love bombing is a practice of showing a person excessive affection and attention as a way of manipulating them within the relationship. So what this looks like is overwhelming you with gifts, excessive praise, constant communication. So they're calling you a lot, they're texting you a lot. They may even say, you're my soulmate, you're the one I've been waiting for, things like that. They tend to do. So in an abusive situation or within a trauma bond, they may, profess their love to you and how much you mean to them and that they don't want to lose you and they don't know what they would do if they lost you, and maybe they'll buy something or treat you good for a while, and then, but unfortunately, slowly it starts to go back into that same destructive pattern that you were in before. So love bombing, in essence, is there to help keep you connected to that person through all of these things that I've said. But however, over time, you eventually, fall back into the same cycle.
Yeah, and it's the manipulative aspect of the cycle, right? This individual knows, okay, you might leave, you might walk out. So they do something to kind of keep you tethered, right? Yeah. Then this is where it becomes very confusing and blurry, because the woman is thinking naturally, oh, wow, I'm seeing change.
Yes.
Changing, he loves me, which is why he's doing this, but it's not love, it's manipulation. To keep the cycle going, because at the end of the day, like we shared before, the individual who is the struggle of partner, they're the one that's benefiting significantly from this dynamic.
Yes. Because they also have that need to feel needed in their own sense, right? It's a boost to their self-esteem based on what I read. And that chemical that you're speaking of, it's called oxytocin. That the brain releases. And another word or another phrase that's used for that is called the bonding hormone. So when you start feeling really good, your brain now releases this oxytocin and you feel more bonded and more connected, right? But however, once that initial bonding phase is over, then the manipulator goes back to devaluing you, in other words. So, yeah,
and
it's
that's
really
the stress.
fascinating. And sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say that's the stress part. It's not only the increased level of the oxytocin, right? But it's also the balances, the cortisol spike, and it's going back and forth, back and forth. And that's where the bonding starts. Okay. Right? That's where the trap really is, because you're waiting for that spike. Yeah. And you go back down. You need that spike. It's like it's literally like an addiction. It functions like an addiction in the brain. And that's why it's so hard to get out oftentimes. I know people that have been in situations like this for years, 8 years, 10 years, 15 years.
20 years.
Yeah. The brain starts to associate the trauma, but internalize that as love. Yeah. So now the trauma represents love. If you heard of the situation where people like, oh yeah, we got into an argument and we made good love, the night before, that's the best love making ever. That's kind of a part of it. And some people live their day to day. We have to argue. We have to fight. And at the end, they have, they do what they do to feel better about themselves, but it's all a part oftentimes of this struggle love dynamic.
Yeah, we have another comment from from Valerie. She says, yes, like they tell you all the right things and they apologize, but it's just a cycle of breadcrumbs. And I like that breadcrumb word. It's breadcrumbing, just a little drop here and a little drop there, just enough to keep you, right? Yeah. Which is really...
And it works.
Yeah, unfortunately it does. Okay, so now that we've kind of clarified what the trauma bond is and what love bombing is, we can talk about how it impacts your health, because there definitely is an impact to your health. I'm sure just based on all of these hormones that we're speaking about, oxytocin and cortisol, these things play a role in what's the word I want to use? Balancing us,
mental health.
Certain things heighten when certain chemicals within our brain and within our bodies heighten, depending on what we're going through, and then they decrease. But not all things are supposed to remain high. So because that does happen, there is an impact to you on a health level. It impacts your endocrine system, your cardiovascular system, and your immune system. And I'll kind of go a little bit more in depth. So some of the signs that you may experience if you're going through a situation like this is emotional exhaustion, for sure. Just feeling just like you just don't have it in you anymore. From day to day, you're just feeling extremely drained. There's a decrease in your self-esteem as well. Cardiovascular wise, hypertension, so high blood pressure, can be a result of staying in a struggle of situation. Depression is a very common one. And a lot of the times that people don't realize they're depressed. Yes. So you can have a hard time falling asleep. Maybe you just sleep in. You can sleep for hours and hours and hours and not want to wake up. Those are telltale signs, or some of the telltale signs of that. Feeling unworthy, feeling like you're being unheard, feeling like you're being unseen. Are also some signs. Feeling tired all the time, feeling anxious all the time too. Anxiety is a big one. A weakened immune system. So you may notice that you get sick more often, like maybe you have a cold that just won't go away. Or just not feeling
stomach
good.
Aches,
stomach aches. Actually,
headaches.
Digestive issues is one as well. So maybe your food's not digesting, whether you're constipated or you just experience diarrhea more often than you normally would. That's a sign as well. Substance abuse, let's not forget that one is a big one. Maybe you feel like you have to, light up a little bit of Mary Jane just to cope.
Take the edge off, right? Just
take the edge off
a little bit.
It's like, where did I put? Yeah. So substance abuse, alcohol as well. Maybe you feel like I just need, just that splash of rum, and that splash for that one day turns into 2, 3, 4. Like every day you need that in order to cope. Some people experience poor nutrition as well. And premature aging.
On that.
Pardon me?
Let me talk a little bit about appetite.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
I know when I'm experiencing stress, and I've been in a situation where, I broke up with someone, it was very painful. I don't eat.
Yes.
My appetite is gone. And then of course you have the opposite of that. You have people that deal with stress differently, where they're just eating everything in the refrigerator.
That's me.
And the pounds pile. Yeah, I'm the one that doesn't eat. So I hate being in that space. I'm glad that I'm not in that space, and I'm glad that I'm aware of that space. So if I do feel that stress or that anxiety, I'm like, hey, no, you have to put some food in your body, because you are too grown to be walking around looking like olive oil, Yeah.
Olive, I like that one. Yes. It's interesting. I kind of go up and down. I think because I have experienced anxiety for sure, kind of when you're just not sure, like everything's just unknown to you, then I won't eat for sure. And then my system, I feel it. Definitely have like diarrhea. I'll get headaches and things like that. And then to soothe myself, that's when I turn to the fridge and the chips, and I'm eating everything I just should not be eating at that time. Definitely been there.
Yeah. So while we're on this topic specifically about our bodies and eating habits, I think it's so important if you are in this situation, or if you think you're in this situation, or if you have any, maybe in the past you realize, what, that may have been me. One of the things that is a sure tell sign is if you pay attention to your body.
Yeah.
If you're in a situation that feels uncomfortable or unsafe, pay attention to what your body is telling you. And I've learned that over the last couple of years. If I'm in a situation, I'm just like, hey, wait a minute, my chest feels a little off. Mm-hmm. That's my body telling me that something is wrong. I need to look inward, try to figure out what's going on and why I feel that pain in my chest or in my lower stomach. Mm-hmm. So oftentimes our bodies are giving us signals. Hey, something is off. Mm-hmm. You're not living within your values. Something is not working right. So if you work on paying attention to your body, mm-hmm. it's a sign that's telling you something. And maybe that's a clue for you to start to look a little bit deeper, even reaching out for help. Like I said, work with a coach, work with a therapist to try to figure out what that is so you can get clarity. Without clarity, you won't be able to fix the problem.
Yeah, no, that's a really great point, because I definitely have experienced like heart palpitations, and it's not like anything is actively even happening at that time. Mm-hmm. It's just, it's just that inner intuition that's just saying something's not right. And you're right, look inwards, really reflect on yourself. So just a few more comments that I want to touch on before we continue. Actually, one more. Pat, she was just saying to numb the pain. I think that was going back to like as a substance abuse. Some people, go ahead. Did you have something to say?
Yeah, I was going to say, it's funny, we're talking about substance abuse or drugs, but there's something else that we do to numb the pain as well. And we tell ourselves lies. Everything is okay. We make excuses for the bad behavior. Mm-hmm. And that helps us to numb ourselves in some kind of way. When we play these mental games, he was just having a bad day. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He's, he has a lot going on with work. Yeah. Or
he's like that sometimes.
He's like that sometimes.
He needs nothing by it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's a way of numbing it. That's a way of denying that it exists. Yeah. Right? Same when we use alcohol or take drugs, we're trying to deny our reality.
That's a good point. A couple more that I just want to mention. Premature aging is another negative impact. And I'm sorry, but I love my skin and I'm trying to preserve this for as long as possible.
Well, who wants to age prematurely?
I don't want to age prematurely. Not because of a relationship. I'm not interested. And back to your casino analogy, because that's very powerful in of itself. And I'm not a gambler. Like, I'm afraid to take that kind of risk because I love my money too much to part with it. Right. However, I remember one time when I went to the casino, and my favorite game is actually Russian roulette. I don't know why. It's just a game I tend to go towards. I'm pretty good at it. But I usually go and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to spend any more than $20. And when this $20 is gone, that is it. And I'm not going to say it's easy to part myself from my beloved game. However, that's all I'm willing to put on the line. So that analogy kind of brought me back to that. Like, in a relationship, you have to have your boundaries and say, this is as much as I'm willing to tolerate. Yeah. There's no more,
See, my boundary at the casino, I remember it was $5. I was playing, I think it was a nickel machine or something. Okay. I won $50 and that was it. I was good to go.
You're like, there it is.
There it is. It's time to go. I have $5 to lose and that's it.
Oh, that's so funny. Well, I guess we are one in the same for sure. When I went to Vegas, I walked because how they have it set up in all the hotels is there's a casino on the main floor of all these hotels. So to leave these hotels, you have to walk through the casino. I just closed my eyes and kept it moving. I was like, y'all ain't getting me today. I got shopping to do. I'm not losing my money.
Exactly. Relating it to the struggle of thing, the odds are against you.
The odds are against
that's
you.
That's what we're saying.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
Know what you have to lose.
Yeah.
And move on.
And move on.
The odds are against you.
Yeah, absolutely. And, a strong relationship equals strong health. So when you have a good relationship, a healthy relationship, chances are you're healthy too, right? So I say all of that just to say, pay attention to what's happening in your body, because a lot of the times when you're in these type of situations, you don't even see it, you don't notice it until maybe it's a little bit too late. So just pay attention to how you're feeling and all the things that are happening within your body.
All right.
Yeah.
So what do we do when we find ourselves in this situation? What do we do? Oftentimes I kind of feel it's the awareness piece. And I'm glad that we touched on the trauma bond, because it's very important, as I mentioned earlier, to understand that so you know where to start tackling it. And it starts from up here. It starts with awareness. It starts with your mind. So the advice that I would give someone who's in this situation, if it's something that you are, that you want to get out of, know the difference between what you want and what you need.
Okay.
I think it's very important. If we focus on what we need, for example, I kind of find as women in general, or maybe just people in general, we really don't ponder that question. What do I need? Before we even get into relationships, what do I need? What do I need for this to be a healthy relationship? I'm not talking about shallow, selfish,
materialist.
I'm talking about core needs, core value needs. So that would be a start, I think, for individuals to start thinking, okay, if I'm not, obviously you're not getting what you need if you're in this struggle love dynamic, because you're giving the other person more than enough, but you're not getting it back in return. So start to jot down some things, what do I need? And it might be completely blurry, because these are some introspective questions that we don't really ask ourselves enough.
Yeah. No, it's, as I'm sitting here thinking about it, it's taken me back to a time when, I'd had kind of a couple of not so great relationships. And I was, I realized, okay, I need to really check in with myself, because I must be doing something a little bit wrong here. Right. And I remember going to counseling and sitting there with my therapist. And one of the things she said to me was that, like, what is it that you need in a relationship? And that was the first time I'd ever really thought deeply about it. I had these high level type things, but like to my core, what I need, what are like deal breakers, what I want it to look like, I wasn't exactly 100% sure. And I had to write it down, and I could only choose 10 for each category. And I went over 10, but I could only choose 10. And she was like, no, you can only choose 10. So I had to really pick which ones were the most important to me to really break my list of like 20 to 30 down to 10. And I say that to say it sounds easy, but realistically, we're not going to have all of these 30 things. We really have to narrow it down to what's really important. What are my core needs? What are my core values? What are the 10 things I have to absolutely have in order to feel fulfilled? And like I said, it sounds like an easy exercise, but it's not. But it was such a great exercise because it made it so much more clear who I was and what I needed going into my next relationship.
Right. Yeah, it's very blurry. You know, when you ask that person their question, their mind goes to the obvious, what everybody would say, right? But oftentimes you're just like, wow, I never thought about that, you know, and you really have to do some soul searching, some digging to get very specific and know what those are. moving on to something else that I would advise, and it kind of piggybacks off of knowing what you need and understanding your personal needs and desires, is setting boundaries. I think once you have that set 10 or 5 of your value points of what you need in a relationship, that's where you begin to set those boundaries that are vital in your relationship. And speaking from personal experience, I didn't have boundaries for a very long time. Okay. What are boundaries?
Yeah.
We're not taught to have boundaries. At least I wasn't, the way I was brought up. Mm-hmm. So you go along life not really understanding, okay, when someone has crossed a line, because you don't have a line.
Yes.
You haven't made a line. Mm-hmm. So in these types of relationships, as you start to sort out what you need, what's important to you, what your values are, you then begin to set boundaries around things that are important to you.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting that we're talking about boundaries. There's, I think she's a psychologist on Instagram. I'm going to shout her out right now because her content is amazing. Nedra Webb, I believe her last name is. And she has a book that's called Set Boundaries. I know it says something a little bit more than that, but pretty much it's all about setting boundaries. And why I'm mentioning that is because I find a lot of women don't really fully understand what setting boundaries is and what it looks like how you actually operationalize that. And her book takes you through the whole thing, and it's an amazing book. And it's something I refer back to on a regular basis, just, as a reminder or to give other people some information when asked. So that's a book and a person on Instagram, if you're on social media, that I would follow. Her content is amazing, and I find myself reposting a lot of things that she tends to post because it's so profound and it's so necessary, especially nowadays in light of all the things that we see happening around us in relationships.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And boundaries are not just for the women, by the way. Yeah. So I don't want everyone to think it's just all about women and we're bashing the men. That's not what it is. Yeah, no. It's important for men to also set clear boundaries so that their values and their needs are also being met. Because remember, when two people come together, we're trying to find balance.
Yes.
Balance. So another thing that I thought about for individuals that want to get out, this is a big one. Learn to enjoy your own company.
Yes.
Who sit on that for a second, learn to enjoy your own company. Mm-hmm. Oftentimes women stay in these types of relationships because they don't want to be alone.
Mm-hmm. True.
So they put up with a lot of stuff, What does it look like to enjoy your own company?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was from personal experience. That was something I had to learn along my journey as well, was how to. And I think for me, it could be because I, had my children young. So I've always been around people and had to take care of people. So I got really caught up in that dynamic. And I would say it wasn't until in my 30s, later 30s, that I started to actually really enjoy my own company. Really enjoy doing things for myself, really enjoy just laying in bed and watching Netflix and being completely content, going out. I would go out to eat by myself. I have no issues doing that. I would go see a movie by myself, just really enjoying me, go to the spa, really treat myself. And I'm stuck in it almost sometimes, even when I was saying this to my husband the other day because he had to go out, and I was like, okay, bye. And all I'm thinking about is, okay, after he leaves, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do that, and I'm going to leave. I planned out how I was going to just enjoy my time. Not to say I don't love spending time with him. I absolutely do. But I also love spending time by myself and to myself.
See, that's a wonderful thing, right? When you're in the struggle of and you don't have a person, learning to enjoy your own company is a lot more challenging, right? Because you could always go back to your partner. I could always go back to my fiance and enjoy their company. But in this dynamic, when you have an individual that's just leaving the situation, and they poured all of their love, time, energy. Sometimes they lose themselves in these types of relationships. They have no idea who they are as a human being. You know, this is a time when you really need to look inward and say, you know what? I choose me.
I choose me.
I choose me. And therefore, you know, when you start to enjoy your own company, you know, when Mr. Right comes along, you're good.
You're good.
You know, you're filled.
Yeah.
You know, he's just going to add to that enjoyment.
Yeah.
You guys come together like balanced individuals. So that's the ideal, you know, situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
another thing I like, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just saying, I agree. Go ahead.
So another point that I like to make is women or individuals that find themselves in this struggle love dynamic, we as individuals have to take accountability. It's not about the struggle love partner. There's something about us that kept us in these bonds. There's some things that we need to fix within ourselves, why we continue. And this typically happens. You'll go from one struggle love partner to a next, you know, that in itself is a sign. Okay, wait a minute. I need to take full accountability as to why I'm attracting these types of individuals. What am I doing? What part of my being does not feel loved or worthy of love? Because at the root of it, that's kind of where it comes from. And then we can go into abandonment issues that has a lot to do with it too.
Yeah.
But overall, we have to take full accountability and not always point the fingers at the partners, because you know what? We chose them.
Yeah.
We invited them into our space.
We did. And you know what? At the end of that too, it's okay. Like, it's okay. I think what's important is that now that you know, what are you going to do about it? I think we have to have grace with ourselves and have forgiveness in ourselves and not stay stuck on, oh, I'm so stupid, or, you know, how could I not? Or, you know what I mean? Like, let's not be so hard on ourselves, because I find we do that as women. I think it's important to say, okay, you know what? This is a lesson that I have to learn. It's a hard one, but it's okay, because at the end of this, I'm going to come out better for it, and really believe that. I just have a couple of comments. Paula, thank you for joining, Paula. She said, too much to gain in walking away too much to gain in walking away to lose by staying. Okay, it's a good one. And she went on to say, I think most of us don't even think about what we need, quote unquote, because we're conditioned that we should be focused on others. And it's true, because anytime we start thinking about ourselves and we verbalize that, it comes across to other people like we're being selfish. Like, I've been told that I can be selfish, but I've gotten to the point where I'm like, I don't care, because I got to take care of me. And if me taking care of me to you looks like I'm being selfish, then I guess I'm selfish. I don't look at it that way. I believe I'm taking care of myself. It's called self-care, and I think we have to start really normalizing that, you know, taking care of ourselves is not selfish. We have to. It's important. Sorry, just wanted to bring that up.
It's about finding balance too,
balance,
right?
Yeah.
So it's like taking care of yourself. But the thing about struggle love, the women or the struggle love the codependent, they're not taking care of self.
Yeah.
You know, they're
all.
Pretty much depleting
themselves. Yeah, at the expense of this person.
At the expense of the struggle love partner.
Yeah.
You know, so in that regard, absolutely, you need to, you know, step back and take care of self and realize, okay, is this what I want for myself? And even if you have children, sometimes a good way to reflect, would I want this for my daughter?
Yeah. That's that's a great one. And that actually, to be honest, thinking along that line got me out of a situation that was very much a struggle of situation. Was, I don't want my daughter to see this, because I don't want her to think this is normal and what she should expect moving on in her own life with men, right? We have to remember, we set the example for our children. We are actually role modeling things that they see that they subconsciously end up doing. They don't even think about it. They just subconsciously end up doing a lot of the things we do because they've watched us do it. So as she started,
the energy is there.
And
sometimes they probably haven't even seen it, but the energy is there. They're smarter than we are. I think they're more instinctively in tune than we give them credit for.
Absolutely.
You know, especially at a young age.
Absolutely. 100%. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you with that one. No. I just really wanted to put it out there because that was my defining moment was, do I want my daughter? I don't want this for my daughter. So why am I showing her that this is okay? It's not.
Right.
Yeah.
Because they'll play that right out.
They will.
So is there anything that you would add to the conversation as far as what suggestion would you have to help someone in the situation? Anything that I may not have mentioned?
No, I think the self-love, self-care part is super important, even while you're still in a situation like this. I think if you're looking to leave a situation, just be mindful as to how you do that. And it would depend on who you're with. Sometimes we don't, and it's a difficult one to say because some abusers don't necessarily show how abusive they are until you want to leave. So that's something to also keep in mind is make sure that you're safe. Yeah, that you stay safe and you reach out to the appropriate people, whether that's the authorities or there are lots of groups that support women who are looking to leave and emergency shelters and things like that. So I would say look at what your options are if you're looking to leave and just be very mindful of that. Some people you can just say, this isn't working for me, and that may be, okay. Hopefully it can be something that's amicable, but I'm aware of a lot of situations that unfortunately are not amicable, and you definitely make sure that you keep your safety as a priority if you decide to walk away from a situation like this. Yeah.
And the process of walking away, it really isn't like overnight.
No.
I guarantee if you're in this situation right now, you probably broken up about 1 million times and, got love bombed back into the situation. And, it's a back and forth situation. But it just be patient with yourself. Like Lady T said, be patient with yourself, give yourself love, give yourself grace. Yeah. Even if you're in it and you're trying to find your way out. I am a strong proponent. Work with a therapist, work with a counselor so you can start building your inner strength up. You can start setting those boundaries. You can start knowing what your needs are. And the more clarity you have on that in those areas, the more confident you'll be able to say, you know what? I'm leaving the situation. Yeah. You'll have a plan, an exit plan.
A plan, yeah. Exit plan.
Right. And it's done for you, not for anybody else. Because anybody can tell you, leave that situation and you're going to go back. But until you're ready to leave that situation, because you realize your self-worth, you realize your value, you realize what you deserve, you'll stay in there for a very long time.
Yeah, a very, very long time. Oh, no, it's a heavy one. It really is. I would say also reach out to someone who you trust, whether it's a parent or a friend or a sibling. If you're a person of faith, maybe somebody, within that realm as well, I would, reach out to somebody who you trust, because a lot of the times maybe they'll be able to assist you, whether it's maybe they offer you a place to stay or whatever it is. I just think it's important to reach out to somebody you trust. Yeah.
And I can't say this enough. I know we kind of talked about it over again. I know the topic of self-love also came up, and I'm working on a series for you ladies on what self-love is. I'm really excited about presenting that to us, because I feel that we really don't have a solid idea as to what it means to love yourself. On
it's true.
Deep inner, what does it really mean to love yourself? Away from all the physical, the hair, the makeup, the glam, the job, all those titles, all those things that, can disappear in the blink of an eye. I mean, we see what's happening in the world today. Nothing is guaranteed. Yeah. But how do you love yourself? What does it mean to have self-worth? What does it mean to have self-worth? So I'm really looking forward to diving deep into that category of self-love, because I think it's vitally important. When we love ourselves, our partners are even happier because, they're in a space of growth and love and confidence, and we're building each other up. We're not pulling each other down. I love you, you love me, I love me, you love you. it doesn't get any better than that. So,
Yeah.
like I said before, I'm really excited about diving deep into that so that our ladies, young and old, can start to know exactly what that means to love thyself.
Yeah. I have some comments that I got off from social media. We have 5 minutes. I'm aware of the time, so I'm just going to wrap this up. But I really like these comments, something to think about. It says, Black women are always expected to accept struggle love instead of love without all the drama. Women are not here to fix and raise grown men. Men should fix themselves before they enter into a woman's life and vice versa. No more struggle love. Another comment was, why do women have to go through all that to prove they're worthy? Nah, I'm good, she says. Another one says, here's the thing. It's up to you. Regardless of what others say, you shouldn't deal with or should. Bottom line is it's up to you. Hold on or let go. If you hold on, do so because you accept them, not in the hope that they change.
Good one.
Because what if they don't? Did they waste years of your life, or did you? Something to think about. And then another one by It's Our Journey Inc. Don't play with your life, ladies. If a man loves you, he would be a better man for you, and you wouldn't even have to go through it. After all of that, a dude will still betray you and ruin your life and walk away, leaving you alone to pick up the broken pieces of your life that he destroyed. Don't waste yours. Don't waste years of your life. Trust me, she said.
See, I want to go back. I don't want to cut off these comments. I know we have a few minutes, but it's very important to understand growth in a relationship. You have two individuals, and we're not going to be perfect coming together.
No, absolutely
So I don't want to lose this fact. If you're with an individual who's growing and you guys are growing together for the better, I think it's worth staying through the situation. Of course, if there's no physical abuse, verbal abuse, all that kind of stuff. But I think it's important to understand that relationships is also a growth dynamic. I'm not going to come completely whole. I don't care what anybody says.
No, it's true.
He's not going to come completely whole.
Yeah.
Right? But if we come together and there's respect
Yep.
and a willingness to listen to your partner and a willingness to grow for the betterment of the relationship,
yes,
you have a winner.
Absolutely.
You have a winner.
Absolutely. 100%. Great points. So we have 2 minutes. I just wanted to say one comment. We should also talk about commitment. Oh, that's for another day. That's for another day, another topic. But moving forward after this conversation, which was a great one, I absolutely enjoyed speaking about struggle of over the last 2 weeks. I think it's really important. And I'm also looking forward to your self-love series that starts next week.
Next month. It's the last Sunday in each month.
Okay, last Sunday in each month. So last Sunday in each month, we're going to start a 6-part self-love series led by the wonderful Tina Cole. Looking forward to that. And hopefully you ladies tune in for that.
By the way, Lady T, I love your hair. I have to say that before we get off air. I love it.
Thank you. Big hair, don't care. That's what I'm all about right now.
You're wearing it well.
Thank
Diana
you.
Ross. I'm feeling Diana Ross.
Shaka Khan, like I'm taking it back. I'm actually really enjoying it. I can't wait. Honestly, I just love it. I've been doing all sorts of fun things with it for the last couple of days, trying to get used to it all. But no, I love it. Absolutely love it. So thank you so much for that. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Okay, everyone. So thank you for joining us once again. Hopefully, you've taken a thing or two from here, whether for yourself or somebody just share. Also, don't forget to subscribe to iLive Radio if you're listening to us or watching us rather on YouTube. And thank you for all the listeners who are tuning in via their radios, car radios, etc. We appreciate you. So I think those are my close.
Have a wonderful week. Definitely want to send out some good vibrations.
Yes,
have
good vibrations
week.
for the
Stay
week.
positive. Start to learn and know what your worth is and get better at it each and every day.
Each and every day. Take care, ladies. Until next week.
Temple, and you're listening. Live Radio, changing the way you listen to radio.
Hi, I'm urban Christian artist Kayla James, and you're